Formula E is done and dusted for another season. Season 11's just wrapped up with the London E-Prix. In this video, we're going to be talking about it. Going to be talking about some of the stars. Going to be talking about those who came so close. And having a look back at the standings. But to start off with, let's go with the naming stuff. The Marvel Fantastic Four London E-Prix, where they had the Fantastic Four attack mode. I don't know. I like that Formula E is getting to the point now where it can have these kinds of sponsorships of the races, but also the fact that they chose to do it for an MCU film as the first thing kind of stands out to me, because it makes everything sound as corporatized as that kind of sponsorship is. It's a bit like NASCAR with the Geico Restart Zone, or now it's the Echo Park Restart Zone, the Capital One white flag. It just sometimes feels a bit needless. Like, sponsoring a race, yeah. Having themes around the race to do with the sponsorship, yeah, that's cool. If you had a different sponsor for each for the London E-Prix, that would be cool. But the kind of overboardness that we got with this one, yeah, it made it stick out. Something positive that stuck out, though, was the pace of Jaguar, a good way to round out the season. I mean, I saw the race's analysis where they pointed out that I think Jag was 8th in the standings after 3 races. They managed to claw themselves back to 2nd. I mean, we'll talk about the standings more at another point. But the team that, unfortunately, they removed the big cat from their branding over the course of the past 12 months. I'd say the big cat was roaring again, but for whatever reason, Tata removed it from the branding. But they did have a good run towards the end of it. I mean, it doesn't really stand out as much because of the rotten luck that Mitch Evans found himself in. But he got pole position in the first E-Prix, didn't he? And, yeah, had he not been turned around by, wasn't it Dan Ticktum? He probably would have competed closer to where his teammate Nick Cassidy was, who won both the races. And, in fact, in the second one, you do feel a bit for Mitch Evans. I mean, the penalty, okay, it's a penalty. It's fairly given by the stewards. But at the same time, whilst you could be, well, you could be like, well, why didn't they get Cassidy to switch them round and Evans could run off? By the time that it had been communicated across to Mitch Evans that he had the penalty, Nick Cassidy was 6 seconds up the road. He finished the race 13 seconds up the road. This was like in Shanghai all over again. Shanghai, he just absolutely dominated. Wherever he ends up next season, he needs to hit the ground running, because there's no reason why he can't be the champion. I mean, Oliver Rowland had a similar kind of run in the later part of last season, dominated the early part of this season to secure the championship with 2 races to spare. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the exact same thing happen next year for Nick Cassidy, whichever of the outfits he ends up as. But elsewhere, there were other notable performances that probably didn't get the credit they deserved. Nick de Vries getting a double 2nd place. That was really well done by him. I mean, at the same time, Ada Mortara had a good run in the first race, had the accident in the second race, but qualied 8th, which was one better than Wade qualied in race 1. Those Mahindras did really well. I think they said their target was 10 points a weekend for this year, and I think they more than outperformed that in the end. But I'll go and have a look in a moment anyways. Van Doorn had a good run in the first race. The second race, well, less said about that. But I'd say somebody who did have a standout performance that was overshadowed by incidents. Sometimes of his own doing, sometimes not as much, and sometimes just paying the consequences later for things that he'd done before, was Dan Ticktum. I mean, he qualied 4th in the first E-Prix. Yeah, he was out after accidents, but the problem from it was the grid drop that he got. He got, what, a 5-place grid drop? He qualified on pole for the second race, started 6th, and thanks to incidents and penalties, finished 14th. Somebody who really should have been able to get a lot more out of it. But hey, at least for some drivers like Dan Tickerton, we can largely expect that they're going to be back next season. There were some drivers who had a really unfortunate ending to their season, potentially their Formula E career. Sam Bird wasn't classified in either race, at least according to the Formula E website. And in addition to that, it was a double retirement for McLaren in the final race, with Taylor Barnard also out. He finished 13th in the first one, so no points for him, and he had a phenomenal season. And it's such a shame that McLaren are closing their doors, because it was the HWA, it was the Mercedes team. It's such a good team of great individuals, and you just feel for them. I know that lots of them will be able to land on their feet, but that's really besides the point, because Formula E is going to be worse off with one less team on the grid next year. But it is what it is. What's happened has happened. We can't change what has happened in these situations, can we? Which means I think the last thing that we need to reflect on is the standings. Obviously, Oliver Rowland won. He didn't pick up any points in London, so he finished on that 184. However, Pascal Wehrlein, who was second, got massively overshadowed by Nick Cassidy, and that's across the final three races. 26, 25, 26 for Cassidy across those final three, whilst Wehrlein got 3, 16 and 4. Yeah, Nick Cassidy was deserving of second place at the end of it. That charge in the ladies, like I said, since Shanghai, it's just mightily impressive. A double non-score for Taylor Barnard also harms his bid. He finished 4th. Held on to 4th by 1 point for Antonio Felix da Costa, though. 112 to 111. And again, it was just rotten luck. That's what I would say. And it's what Formula E is. It comes down to luck. Lots of the drivers, lots of the teams are performing at relatively similar levels. Sigfrid Verne on 99. Jake Dennis is on 93 and 7th, just ahead of Nick De Vries on 92, which I think is deserved for both of them to be that close. Both former champions, both who had great form towards the end, and De Vries managed to jump Hayden Mortara as well. Then Gunter 10th, Tickerton 11th, which does feel a bit harsh, and it goes on countback because Gunter won sooner. Buemi 12th, Evans 13th, then Van Dorn, then Muller, Jake Hughes. Degrassi beat Sam Bird by 1 point. I don't know, I think Degrassi might be back next season, but I've heard this could be Bird's last race, which would be a shame. Because, I mean, up until the first hand injury he got, he had been the only person to race in every single Formula E race. Then Freins, Nato, which, given that his teammate won the championship, is a bit of a shame. I mean, I know that Nato didn't do Berlin. Seti Camera came in and scored a couple of points, but it would put Nato at a similar level to Freins. Neither of them should be there. Both of them should be higher up the standings. You get another stand-in Drugovic, who got 6 points, and then towards the end of it, Beckman with, well, he got a point in the end. He got a point in the final round with P10. That's a nice way to end off the season. Now, in terms of the point dissonance, Tixon got 85, Beckman got 1. It's... I don't think we've seen a comparison like that in Formula E history. And Paul Zamoloni, I mean, rookie season, and he skipped the Abu Dhabi F2 race to do the Sao Paulo race. There were so many points this year where you're like, oh, Zamoloni could get points. But Degrassi managed to sneak in some really good results, that Miami one. But Paul Zamoloni, no points this season. In terms of the teams, Porsche finished on 256 and won over Jaguar, who got 227. Nissan with a non-score in the finale and only 2 points from round 15 were on 207 in third. Mahindra beats Penske into 4th place on 186. Penske on 184. And that's testament to how well they ran in that final couple of races, Nick de Vries especially. McLaren with the non-score ends up in 6th place, but I think they were in 6th coming into it. No, Mahindra jumped them as well, so they dropped down to 6th. Andretti consolidated 7th, didn't manage to catch McLaren in the end, and Vision held on to 8th. Or did they jump Maserati? I think it went back and forth in the final race, didn't it? Kiro, and it's a shame for them, but it's better than they did last year. It's better than Alfred's done for a while. Then Lola Yamaha bringing up the rear of the field with 32 points, which is nice to say. 32 points in a 11-team field was the lowest score. 256 was the highest score with 16 rounds. It shows that Formula E is more balanced than things like F1. And then you look at manufacturers, and Jaguar managed to get themselves into 2nd at the end. And again, that's because of struggles for Nissan and McLaren, who only took 7 points away from the finale, whereas Jaguar took 71. What a rally towards the end of that season. Porsche had a healthy lead to hang on to, and in 383, yeah, 33 points clear. If you'd given it another weekend or two, Jag probably could have caught and won. But in the end, Porsche get 2 of the championships, but not the drivers. And in the drivers, their best one was 3rd. Behind them, yeah, Stellantis on 274, Mahindra on 213, and 54 points for Lola. Anyway, folks, those are my thoughts, those are my feelings. Thank you so much for watching and joining, and until next time, bye-bye for now.